What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Thursday, March 7th, 2024, and I have some breaking news to share with you guys. Right now it is 14:32 Eastern Time here in the United States, and we have some major breaking news coming in from Europe and the Middle East. Before I get into the breaking news, I just want to show you guys some planes that are overhead right now over the continental U.S. We currently have two nuclear war command and control planes in the air over Oklahoma and Texas. We also have a nuke sniffer plane in the air over Oklahoma, and the nuke sniffer planes can detect radiation in the atmosphere. And the nuclear war command and control planes are responsible for communicating with U.S. nuclear forces during and after a nuclear war. So we have two of them up in the air. So we have some major breaking news coming in from Russia. The Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said yesterday that Western countries are playing with fire when discussing the possibility of sending troops to Ukraine. He described as dangerous the very fact such an idea was mentioned by French President Emmanuel Macron. Peskov said that Moscow is hearing many contradictory statements from the West about sending NATO troops to Ukraine, but the very fact of this discussion is dangerous. He pointed out that Macron's statements to the effect that a discussion should begin on this score came amid speculations that the West wants to see Russia suffer a strategic defeat. They are all playing with fire, Peskov warned. He added that together with German officers' discussion of strikes on Russia, all this leads to a further degradation of the situation. Wow, guys. So Russia is not happy. And yesterday, Russia tested air raid sirens across their entire country. And they also sent out emergency alert messages to cell phones, TVs, and radios. They conducted a nationwide nuclear war alert test yesterday in Russia. And this comes just days after the German Air Force officers discussed striking the Crimean Bridge with Taurus missiles, and also after NATO F-35s flew into Ukraine to collect information on the location of Russian air defense systems. And also about a week and a half after Macron hosted multiple, actually pretty much every NATO country in Paris to discuss the possibility of sending troops into Ukraine. This also comes right after Putin allegedly gave his final warning to the West about sending troops to Ukraine. Okay, he sent a verbal and written warning to the West. If you send troops to Ukraine, then this is going to be grounds for nuclear war. So things are really escalating, guys. Okay, please make sure you're getting prepared. Know how to identify a fallout shelter or a structure that's suitable for a fallout shelter. I've discussed this many times. I have over 50 videos on nuclear war survival. I'll leave links in the top right corner. And France and Moldova will be signing a defense pact amid fears of Russian aggression. Okay, so two parts of Moldova have already asked Russia for protection. The Autonomous Republic of Gagauzia and the Autonomous Republic of Transnistria have both formally requested protection from Russia. And these two parts of Moldova were involved in a very bloody war when the USSR collapsed with Moldova and Romania. Okay, so we could see history repeat itself soon. And Russian President Vladimir Putin met in Moscow with Eugenia Gudel, head of one of the autonomous regions of Moldova and breakaway states Gagauzia. She recently stated that Moldova was oppressing their rights. Okay, so Putin met with the head of Gagauzia, okay, one of these autonomous regions in Moldova. So it's not a good sign, guys. Okay, it looks like Putin may be sending troops in there, and there's this massive weapons and ammunition depot in Transnistria that Russia wants to make sure doesn't fall into the hands of Ukraine. And this update was sponsored by Patriot Supply. Guys, Patriot Supply is doing a discount on their 1-month emergency food supply. And to get the deal, you got to go to preparewithnyprepper.com, and the link is in the description below this video. This is a 1-month freeze-dried food supply. It has a 25-year shelf life, and it's all packed within 2 rugged, water-resistant buckets. Free shipping is included. $177 for 1 month of food. Where are you going to find a deal like that? They also have a general store, and they're always running discounts in their general store on various prepping and survival items. They have everything from MREs, potassium iodide, to survival seeds. And to get to their general store, you got to click on the Patriot Supply logo at the top of the page when you get to preparewithnyprepper.com. And you'll see when you get there, they have everything you can imagine. So use the link preparewithnyprepper.com to get $60 off the Patriot Supply 1-month emergency food supply. That's $180 for 1 month of food, free shipping included. The link is in the description below this video. And also check out their general store. They have everything you can imagine prepping and survival related, and they're always running various discounts there. And the Russian military intercepted 6 NATO drones flying overnight towards targets deep inside of Russia in the Tula region. This was reported by the Russian Ministry of Defense this morning. So they're saying NATO drones, okay? NATO is giving Ukraine drones to attack Russian soil, okay? Putin is going to really lose his patience soon, and I think he's going to lash out and do something crazy, because we've been giving Ukraine a lot of long-range weapons now with the missiles and the drones, and he's going to feel the need to lash out. And here we have some pictures and videos coming out of Poland, northern Poland, right near the border of Russia. You can see here all these Polish tanks and also various tanks from NATO countries right on the border with Russia, guys. Check this out. They're doing this massive exercise. Okay, here we have some American tanks, and here we actually have some video footage showing these NATO countries practicing river crossings in northern Poland. And what they're doing is they're practicing a quick reaction in case Russia were to attack the Suwalki Gap. They would be able to quickly mobilize and reach the Suwalki Gap with their tanks and armored fighting vehicles. Okay, here you can see what appear to be some leopards using this bridge to get across the river here in northern Poland, because northern Poland is full of these rivers and streams, and so they have to use these pontoon bridges to cross them, okay? But look at all this equipment right on Russia's border in Kaliningrad. Okay, here we have some more footage. You can see these helicopters flying over. You can see these bridges here. Here's some Polish Leopard tanks crossing the river, okay? So look at all the artillery guns back there. This is huge, guys. This is right on Russia's border. Here's a French tank. Looks like a French Leopard tank. Here's some more Polish Leopard tanks. Okay, so things are really escalating. Okay, get prepared, guys. Things are spiraling out of control in Europe between Russia and NATO. And here we have some flights from last night over Europe. You can see this P-8 Poseidon sub-hunter patrolling right near Murmansk, Russia, which is where Russia has their northern fleet. That's where they have most of their nuclear-armed submarines, and we have a P-8 Poseidon sub-hunter patrolling right outside of that base, guys. Okay, they're obviously trying to see if Russia is deploying their nuclear subs and trying to see what kind of activity is in this area. Okay, if Russia's moving a lot of subs out, which would be indicative of a possible nuclear first strike. Okay, here we have some reconnaissance planes patrolling northern Poland. Here we have a Jake 17 RC-135 reconnaissance plane that was operated by the U.S. Air Force. And look where it's focusing all its efforts, guys, right around northern Poland and Kaliningrad. Okay, it was just looping around Kaliningrad all night long. There were also some Polish reconnaissance planes. We had a Polish border patrol plane fly along the Polish-Russian border here in northern Poland. And then there was also a Polish Argus reconnaissance plane that was patrolling near Gdynia, facing towards the Baltic Sea. Okay, Poland recently bought several of the Argus recon planes from Sweden, and they are now deploying them to monitor Russian military activity near their borders. Here we have a Swedish reconnaissance plane that was patrolling along the border of Finland and Russia last night. Here we have another P-8 Poseidon that was patrolling near Murmansk, Russia. Okay, so two P-8 Poseidon sub-hunters patrolled this area here near Murmansk last night. Here we have an aerial refueler that was up near the Barents Sea. This is a U.S. KC-135. It was refueling something. I don't know if it was refueling those P-8s. And here we have a massive amount of various NATO aircraft flying over northern Norway and northern Sweden. You can see E-3 Sentry, aerial refueler. You can see some Marine Corps planes, some Swedish recon planes. So this is insane, guys. They're doing this massive exercise with thousands and thousands of NATO troops up here in northern Europe, in the northern part of Scandinavia, and they're also doing these exercises in Poland. So you can see where NATO's attention is, guys. NATO's attention is on Poland, the Baltics, and northern Scandinavia. Okay, so this is where we could see something happen in the coming months. And around 20,000 troops from 9 countries are taking part in NATO exercises in northern Poland to test the alliance's deterrence and defense capabilities, including around the Suwałki Gap, a strategic choke point between Poland, Lithuania, Belarus, and Russia. The drill, dubbed Dragon 24, is part of the larger Steadfast Defender 24 exercises, NATO's largest since the Cold War, involving a total of 90,000 troops from all 31 NATO member states and incoming member Sweden. The Dragon 24 exercises, which began last week, involved 20,000 soldiers and 3,500 pieces of equipment from Poland, the US, France, the UK, Spain, Germany, Slovenia, Turkey, and Lithuania, and encompass operations on land, sea, and air, as well as in cyberspace. Poland's 11th Lubush Armored Cavalry Division has been assigned as the main force to take part in the exercise, but Special Forces, Air Force, Navy, and Territorial Defense soldiers from Poland are also involved. So that's Poland's best cavalry division. Okay, that's their best armored division, is the 11th Lubush Armored Cavalry Division. So they're sending their best division up to northeastern Poland to the Suwałki Gap for this exercise. NATO's Enhanced Forward Presence Battle Group is also taking part. The forces involved are practicing crossing roads, bridges, and rivers to reach the Suwałki Gap, which lies on the Polish-Lithuania border and is located between Belarus and the Russian exclave of Kaliningrad. These are our joint exercises to strengthen the security of the entire eastern flank of NATO, not only Poland, but also the Baltic states, said Polish President Andrzej Duda. Poland is ready at any time to fulfill our obligations under Article 5, that is, collective defense. Poland has spent the most on defense relative to GDP of any European NATO country at 3.9%. Wow, guys. Poland has jacked up their military spending to almost 4% of GDP. And today there were 3 steel plants that were hit by Ukrainian drones deep in Russia. There was the Severstal metallurgical plant in Shirapovets that was hit, and also in Lipetsk and Kursk. Here we have some video footage coming out of the steel plant in Shirapovets, the Severstal metallurgical plant, and you can see when the drone hit the plant, all this debris fell from the ceiling. Okay, check that out. That is absolutely insane. You can actually see the steel cooking right over here. You can see the orange glow there, and then this massive kaboom. So that looks like a huge kaboom for just a drone. I mean, maybe they used Taurus missiles or Storm Shadows. How do we know? How do we know that they used a drone and not a NATO cruise missile? And if they did use NATO cruise missiles to hit these steel plants, that would be grounds for Russia to retaliate against NATO. Okay. We also had a massive amount of NATO reconnaissance over the Black Sea yesterday. Here we have an RC 135 rivet joint and several NATO fighter jets that were escorting it, as well as an RQ 4 Global Hawk reconnaissance drone. And then there was also a P 8 Poseidon sub hunter and 2 other reconnaissance planes along the Romanian Black Sea coast. And China is proposing holding an international conference to resolve the crisis in Ukraine. And the Lithuanian defense minister confirmed today that NATO is going to implement the Patriot missile defense system in Lithuania and start an air defense mission over Lithuania. So this is huge news, guys. They are now setting up Patriot missiles in Lithuania. Lithuania is right in the Suwalki Gap, which is that critical corridor between Belarus and Kaliningrad, and many people fear that Russia will try to connect Kaliningrad to Belarus and thus cut off the Baltic countries from the rest of NATO. So this is extremely serious, and this is a sign that NATO is preparing for war with Russia. Okay, they are now implementing Patriot missiles in Lithuania, of all places, guys. Think about it. Okay, the war is going on in Ukraine, which is nowhere near Lithuania. Why would they suddenly set up a Patriot missile system in Lithuania? Very suspicious, guys. And I want to just show you this video footage coming out of New York City. The communist state of New York has implemented mandatory bag checks for all people using the New York City subway system, and they've deployed 750 National Guardsmen from the New York National Guard to patrol the New York City subway system. And I don't know if this is related to the possibility of terror attacks in New York City this coming Ramadan. It could be that. But, here we have an example of the police state martial law. Okay, this is why you do not want to live in blue states, deep blue states like New York, because they love to implement measures like this, which, are basically a violation of your constitutional rights. And a lot of people rely on the New York City subway system to get to work. Okay, and so now if you're going to be using the New York City subway system, there's a good chance that some of these cops and National Guardsmen are going to rummage through your backpack or your, bag or whatever. Okay, I mean, this is pretty ridiculous, guys. This is just absolutely insane. I understand you want to prevent terrorism, but now all of a sudden you're deciding to do this. Why haven't they done this years ago? Okay. This is very suspicious, guys. Very suspicious. So just be prepared. I have a bad feeling we could see some kind of an event coming here in the U.S., a domestic terror event. And Zelensky met with the British Defense Secretary Grant Shapps in Kyiv today. And the UK is going to give Ukraine 10,000 drones. And I want to remind you guys that yesterday, Russia tried to assassinate Zelensky. Okay, they launched missiles towards his convoy in Odessa when he was going to meet with the Greek prime minister, and these missiles missed his convoy by just 150 meters. We don't know if this was just to scare Zelensky as a warning or if this was actually to try to take him out. But the fact that Russia is doing this means that they're escalating. Okay, this is something that Russia has not tried to do yet. Okay, and for them to suddenly to try to do that now means that Russia's getting pissed off. And the Western countries have received a message that Israel has set a target date of March 15th as the date to reach a political settlement with Lebanon. Otherwise, Israel is ready to escalate military operations into a full-scale war. The U.S. ambassador to Lebanon, Abu Salih, stated, okay, so March 15th is the deadline that Israel has given to Western countries for there to be a peace agreement with Hezbollah. Otherwise, they're going to go in. Okay, the West and the U.S. in particular has been stalling Israel's campaign in Gaza, and now they want to stall their campaign against Hezbollah. Okay, talks between Israel and Hamas over the release of Israeli hostages held in Gaza have stalled, dimming hopes that a peace deal could be reached before Ramadan, which begins in a few days. This was reported by the New York Times. And Biden will reportedly announce during his State of the Union address tonight the deployment of U.S. forces into parts of the coastal Gaza Strip alongside the Israeli Defense Force in order to conduct an emergency mission to construct and manage a temporary port which will be used for the transfer of humanitarian aid from Cyprus to Gaza. Okay, very interesting. More rockets were launched from Lebanon towards northern Israel today, and the U.S. is reportedly thinking about banning the use of its weapons in Israel's upcoming operation in Rafah in the southern Gaza Strip. And Egypt's finance minister says that Suez Canal revenues have fallen 50% because of the Houthi attacks in the Red Sea. Russia has resources to fight with Ukraine for at least 2 more years with the current intensity, according to Lithuanian intelligence. And Ukrainian Ground Forces Commander Lieutenant General Oleksandr Pavlyuk stated on March the 6th, which is yesterday, that Ukraine will try to seize the initiative and conduct unspecified counteroffensive actions in 2024. And I want to remind you guys that the heads of both intelligence agencies in Ukraine, the GUR and the SBU, said that they will destroy the Crimean Bridge soon. And Russian forces recently made confirmed advances near Kupiansk and Donetsk city in the western Zaporizhia Oblast on March the 6th. There's also been heavy street fighting taking place in the village of Rabotene in Zaporizhia. Rabotene is that little village that the Ukrainians were working really hard to capture last year to try to form a pocket to split the land bridge that Russia has created in southern Ukraine to Crimea. And it looks like the Russian troops are now in the center of that village, so the Ukrainians have to pull back out of that village now. So it's not looking good for Ukraine, guys, unfortunately. Okay, it looks like the front lines are collapsing over there slowly. And 7 tourists from India who arrived in Russia in December of 2023 were tricked into illegally crossing the border with Belarus. Radio Svoboda reported that they were then detained and forced to participate in the war against Ukraine. So they were arrested and then sent to the front lines to fight against Ukraine. These were 7 tourists from India. Absolutely insane. And Iran's Navy commander said 4 Iranian naval fleets have been dispatched to international waters simultaneously to protect Iranian national interests. Okay, so Iran is another country we got to keep an eye on. And North Korean leader Kim Jong un recently inspected field training of troops at a major military operations base in the western region of North Korea on Wednesday and ordered heightened readiness for war. State KCNA news agency reported on Thursday. The tour of the base, the location of which was not identified, comes after the start of annual combined military drills by U.S. and South Korean forces on Monday in the South, with twice the number of troops taking part compared to last year. Kim said the military must dynamically usher in a new heyday of intensifying the war preparations in line with the requirements of the prevailing situation, the KCNA reported. Our army should steadily intensify the actual war drills aimed at rapidly improving its combat capabilities for perfect war preparedness. KCNA quoted Kim as telling the troops, "Wow, guys, absolutely insane. Perfect war preparedness." He's literally telling us what he's going to do. Okay. And we don't want to believe it. People in the West, they don't want to believe it. They think, oh, he's just bluffing. He's just saying that. He's literally saying we are preparing for war. Okay. So we got to keep an eye on South Korea, guys. This year, South Korea is doing a massive drill with the U.S., the largest ever, okay, with strategic bombers involved. A top U.S. lawmaker said Wednesday he would visit Taiwan for the inauguration of President-elect Lai Ching-te a year after his last trip to the self-governing democracy provoked anger from China. Representative Mike McCall, who leads the House Foreign Affairs Committee, spoke alongside Taiwan's representative in Washington and lawmakers from both parties at an event in the U.S. Capitol marking 45 years since a landmark law to support Taiwan. I'll be leading a delegation to Taiwan to celebrate the president's inauguration, McCall said of the ceremony set to take place on May the 20th. McCall last visited Taiwan in April of 2023 to meet President Tsai Ing-wen. China responded with a show of military force and later imposed sanctions on McCall, a Republican from Texas. The last time I visited Taiwan, I was greeted very warmly by President Tsai, but not so warmly by the CCP, McCall said, referring to the Chinese Communist Party. It's an illustration in terms of the aggression that we're seeing out of China right now, he said. Chinese foreign minister warns Taiwanese people seeking independence will be liquidated by history. Wow, liquidated. Interesting choice of words there. The Armenian government today stated it had delivered a letter to Russia demanding that Russia withdraw their border guards from the Zvartnots International Airport in the capital city of Yerevan. And Iran has announced that they confiscated $50 million worth of oil from an American oil tanker owned by Chevron that they seized in April of last year. And an ex-Google engineer was charged with stealing artificial intelligence technology while secretly working with 2 companies based in China. And LinkedIn was down yesterday due to a cyber attack. And the Washington National Guard, the state of Washington, and the Washington emergency management agencies and law enforcement agencies are currently preparing for civil unrest, possibly due to the upcoming election. In an effort to strengthen and build relationships with law enforcement partners, the Washington National Guard held a civil disturbance roundtable discussion focused on a potential civil unrest response on March the 1st, 2024 at Camp Murray, Washington. In March of 2023, the Washington National Guard held a tabletop exercise designed to test and refine the civil disturbance operational plan. The exercise brought together Washington National Guard joint staff members, law enforcement agencies, county and city emergency managers, and Washington Emergency Management Division personnel, who looked through the operations plan and discussed what did and didn't work during the 2020 civil unrest in King and Pierce counties. The discussions helped refine the collective understanding of needs, roles, triggers, and communication in the event of a similar scenario. So they used, I'm assuming, those riots back in 2020 as their baseline. And I find it interesting that they're holding another one this year. I think because of the election. Want to show you guys some more pictures here of Kim Jong-un at this training ground. Okay, so he's literally preparing for war. Okay, look at him trying to be like Putin, holding up an AK-47, trying to look like a badass. Here we have a bunch of U.S. reconnaissance planes patrolling the border with North Korea. And here we have some footage coming out of Crimea. This was aboard that Russian warship that was sunk by Ukraine. And here we have Russian sailors trying to shoot at one of the Ukrainian drones that were trying to hit the ship. You can see the Russians here shooting various types of machine guns, and they can't hit this drone. The drone just keeps circling around, and they keep missing. Okay, this is really crazy. Look at this drone, guys. I never thought these drones could maneuver like that. Look at how it's maneuvering, and it's really fast, and it's hard for them to hit the drone. As you can see, they're missing. So very interesting footage there. And here we have some footage coming out of the Red Sea from the Indian Navy. The Indian Navy had to rescue this ship that was hit by a Houthi missile, where several of these civilian sailors were killed. Okay, this is the first time that the Houthis have actually killed some people on these ships. Okay, so you can see them winching up this sailor here from the ocean. Okay, they were aboard life rafts, guys. Okay, this is something that the mainstream media here in the US doesn't want to talk about. They don't want to show you guys what's really happening around the world. They want you to just focus on this election because the election is a huge money maker for the mainstream media. Think of all the ad revenue they get, because so many people are watching every single day to see the latest, news about Trump, about his trial, about who won this primary in this state, So here you can see this Indian Navy operation going on. Look, that's a life raft, guys. They literally had to go onto life rafts. Okay, so the Biden administration screwing up big time in the Red Sea here. Okay, with civilian sailors now being killed by the Houthis. So that's the latest breaking news that I have, guys. I will be back later on tonight with more breaking news. So make sure you're subscribed. Hit the bell icon down below so you get notified when I post these updates. And don't rely on the notifications because sometimes YouTube doesn't send out notifications for whatever reason. So always periodically check my page. Just type in NYPrepper in the search bar and go to my actual channel and make sure that I haven't posted something that you may have missed, okay? But that's pretty much it. I will be back later with more breaking news. So take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps. Prepare, practice, and persevere.